Okay, we're live. This is the OmegaMind Accountability Group weekly or bi-weekly hangout. Welcome, everyone. I see Bruce, Donna, and it looks to me like we have Mort, our new member here. Welcome, Mort.
Thank you.
Can you
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Thrilled to have you. So,
Okay.
all right. So I was talking to Donna about a piece that she submitted to me about a case study. She called it a case study, and that's perfect. And so my feedback to her was to think a lot about exactly what you wanted, who you're going to give it to and when, and then use that as a helpful thing about how you write it. So as I read it through, it seemed like a comprehensive write-up, but it might not be. I couldn't tell who was going to get it and where they would get it. And so that was what my question was back to you. And I'm sorry, I sent it 2 or 3 days ago, and I don't know.
Huh. That's all right.
I sent it from my phone, and maybe something, didn't go. Because I checked this morning in my sent emails on my computer, and it wasn't there, and I thought, oh, she didn't get it, and that's why I asked you.
I'll resend because I redid it well, it's the same format. I just improved my writing considerably.
Okay, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Well, I actually thought it was fairly well written, so I wasn't fussed about that at all. I just more wanted you to think about who's going to get it and why. All right, so welcome everybody. So our normal format, Mort, this is for you since you don't. This is the first time you've been on the group call. There's a couple of things that I do, depending on where the group is, and also depending on who's on the call. Sometimes we have 7 or 8, and sometimes we have 2 or 3. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm turning to a blank page in my book because I'm going to go through the group here and just ask you if there are things that you have on your agenda that you want to talk about today. The purpose of this accountability group is to help you do stuff. So Glenn has given you a particular pile of intellectual property and the several tools. He's helping you focus your intellectual property in terms of creating products and services that you'll market, typically high-end products and services that you're marketing based on your skills and experience. He's given you some frameworks and tools to do that. The purpose of this group is to help you actually create the tools, the 10-step process, the 80-word pitch, the kinds of tools that he has given you to create with it. That's also to answer questions about focusing your avatar, who your ideal customer is, and to help you actually implement all those pieces that Glenn has given you in his IP with respect to the group. So that's what we do, or try to do every week, Mort, and what I'm going to do right now is just ask, and I know I'm putting everybody on the spot, and for you it's the first time, and for everybody else it's old hat. If there's anything particular you want to talk about today. Bruce, how about you? Anything you want to discuss today?
I have an executive summary going out. I just finished this morning. I don't know if I should pass it by you or not.
Please do. You're welcome to send me the exec summary, and it's an email, and I'll take a look at it offline and give you some feedback. Sure.
Okay, cool. That's
all
all.
Right.
That's really all I have.
Do you want to talk about any aspects of that today?
I don't think so. It's not not exactly the ideal client but it's a growing client and fits into my spectrum of clients. It's a mid-20 fee for 2 years of activity. And
okay, good. Okay, I'm going to make a couple of notes here.
And it actually went according to, I explained my services, I diagrammed my services, and he was engaged and impressed, and it seemed to fit exactly what he needed. He shared openly with me. This was in person in the first meeting, openly with me what his needs were, and I reflected his needs. First with a document that said summary of our discussion and present situation. Got him to approve that, so I knew I had him, in my sights, so to speak, for what I do, and it met his needs. And then I've set the executive summary to reflect the actions that we are going to take.
Cool. Okay, good. Donna, do you have stuff you want to talk about today?
Not within OmegaMind, no. Not right now. Other than to the speaking assessment cheat sheet was kind of what Glenn was wanting us to talk about. I am 99% sure I'm not going to Sarnia, but I'm going to propose that maybe we be able to send our videos in to be critiqued.
Okay.
While you guys are there.
Yeah, no, I don't think I saw the speaker assessment sheet. Was that in the group? Did he put it in the OmegaMind group?
He did. Yeah.
It was extensive and good.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was a little bit. It's 6 pages and.
Okay, cool. So this was the document that he's gonna. Okay, here it is. So this is the assessment tool that we're going to use. He wants to use when we assess the presentations, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, we'll absolutely take a look at that and talk about it today. So that's cool. I knew he was going to, and he and I had talked about it when we had talked privately, but I just hadn't seen it, and I see there that it's in there. So I'm blowing it up right now so that it is big enough for my crappy eyes, and we will go from there. Okay, good.
Do you know how long he's giving everyone for their presentation?
Well,
that
so
wasn't clear.
Here's what he and I have talked about. Originally, the group was 3 days, and then he made it 4. He said he wants to have the last 2 days be a mini speaker boot camp, because as he and I talked about it, one of the clear needs of the group over the months that we've met is to be really confident and powerful and commanding on stage. Now, that may be on stage in front of a group that's actually on a podium in front of people, or it may be in a boardroom or a small group, or effectively you're on stage, meaning you're commanding the attention and focus is on you, about how to be on stage and not go in and out of character. Because one of the things that he had done, we had all observed, is that some people often go in and out of character in the presentation between presenting and talking about the presentation, because the group is a friendly audience. And that's not helpful. You have to learn how to just do a presentation and just kill it, right? Okay, cool. So that was the genesis of the extra day. We said we're going to talk about, use it as a speaking boot camp. Also, the speaker assessment sheet. He wants us to really focus on what makes an effective front-of-room presentation or boardroom presentation or whatever in front of a client. In your case, Bruce, when you were doing with one-on-one, the same principles still apply. Now, back to your question. How long? My understanding, as I thought you had a full 60 minutes to do a presentation, and that not on top of that, with the addition of the 4th day, you're going to get to present twice. So I got that from his and my conversation, but I don't know that he wrote it down anywhere. So at least 45 minutes and maybe 60 minutes to do a presentation, and then there would be time for critique. So if you're going to do it through video, here's what I would direct you to do, and that is set it up, get it set, get a lav mic, and do a presentation to the camera, making love to the lens like you're talking to somebody. And then do straight up the presentation. If you've got audience participation points where you say how many people would like, and you've got people like NLP sort of raising hands and stuff like that, even do all that and assume a response. In other words, behave in the presentation as if the audience responded like you would expect them to in a room, so that someone watching that really can't tell the difference between you giving the presentation to a group that was filmed and you're doing a presentation that's just a presentation to the camera. The difference would be maybe the camera angle or further back in the room and some tops of heads and stuff like that. But other than that, it needs to feel about the same if you're going to send one in. And so I would plan on it being at a minimum 45 minutes for a full-blown presentation. Does that make sense, Donna?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Mort, do you have something that you'd like to cover, visit, talk about, or get acquainted with today?
I didn't really come with anything in my mind. I thought this was going to be about helping us get prepared for the 4-day. So I didn't really have an agenda for myself.
Okay, good. It will be that too.
Okay.
All right. So for all future calls and for your private thing, so each of you, so that you know this, I mentioned it in the email, as Glenn has hired my company to do this, what we do is we do these every other Wednesday. So there'll be today, and then the next one will be, I 29/6, so the Wednesday before OmegaMind. And then in the in-between weeks, there's the half-hour calls that I do with you individually. Those are on Mondays. Mort, you're not scheduled yet. That's this coming Monday, so I'll get you a slot. Although this coming Monday I'm flying, so there may be a problem with this Monday anyway, which is unusual, but I may have to mess all that up anyway. I've got to fly to Phoenix. So we'll see. But that's when they normally happen, and that is specifically to do whatever you want to work on in terms of your business, and this, and for preparation for the event would be perfect topic for today and for your private call. Okay, cool. All right, so for my own benefit, and just so that because as I talk about these things, I like to apply it. I mean, we're recording this, and it's going to be on the site, and everybody else will watch it. But those that took the time and effort to be here, I want to address specifically the things for you. So to help me more, I know what the other guys do. I'd like you to tell me a little bit about what you do, why you're in OmegaMind, and what you hope to get out of it over the next year or whatever it is that you've signed up for.
Okay. So I'm a physician, internal medicine doctor. I just came out of 15 years in the corporate world working for a Blue Cross plan in Pennsylvania, where I was corporate medical director and health and wellness medical director. I practiced for 23 years in Baltimore, and all along I've had a passion for and interest in health and wellness and really dynamic, life-changing type wellness programs, which are not plentiful in the marketplace. There's a lot of stuff there, but it's more informational than transformational for the most part. So over the years, I've created some unique programs. I have some talents that are somewhat rare in this field. I'm able to help people eliminate stress without having to manage it. I'm able to teach people how to lose weight and keep it off permanently and not yo-yo back and forth like happens to most people. And I also am able to teach people how to enjoy exercising even if they hate it. So I have those three talents, and up till now I haven't had to cash in on them because I had a pretty secure position, a pretty lucrative position that was stable. I was able to explore and use some of my health and wellness skills in my corporate job and working with other big companies that were clients of ours, where we worked with the HR departments and helping them develop health and wellness programs for their employees. So I've just left that world, and now I'm sort of creating the next phase of my career, where what I really want to do is spend my time focusing on health and wellness, and to come out with, I have a stress program, a 10-week stress coaching course that I've developed that's very powerful, and that's what I want to sell first and focus on first. And then the weight loss and the exercise stuff, I'll do in another phase. So right now I'm looking to market my my stress program, which includes coaching with me and online materials, and also build in a certification program. So I make a distinction between managing stress, which is mostly symptom directed, and stress mastery, which is really eliminating stress by understanding and dealing with the causes. And that's the arena that I work in. So I'm positioned sort of against traditional stress management, the thing that's most popular in the industry, and creating a niche around stress mastery that I want to create a certification around. There's very few people in stress mastery or using the term stress mastery, so I want to create a certification program there and train people in my particular system and approach, and also give them access to my intellectual property that they can then, make money off of and incorporate into their business models.
Okay, cool. So that's a very good description, and I get it. So let's just take the stress mastery piece. You have a stress mastery approach that is unique and individual IP that deals with causes of stress as opposed to managing symptoms.
Correct.
You're creating a basically an online piece that is coupled with interaction with you to achieve that stress mastery. That's part one. So you have a program to help people do that. Part two is to create a certification program where others can learn your stuff, then teach it downstream, and you then get some royalties and or residual payments from them because they're using your name and fame.
Correct. And then
Okay,
I could also work with health, with corporations, with health plans, with health and wellness vendors in the industry, and they could co-brand or work with me to have me develop products under them, or co-branded, taking advantage of my products that I've developed over the years. So that's another target market
Okay.
that I have some experience with and I could approach.
Good. So yeah, you do with your 15 years with Blue Cross. In the corporate world, then your ability to infiltrate, as it were, the corporate market, and get them to realize that your stuff is different, a world apart from typical stuff they have for their EAP systems and so forth, that might be powerful and also create not only better stuff in their employee, but also attractiveness for them as a company because they have the new cool stuff. Right? All right. Okay, I get it. Just very, very briefly, so you know my background, I'm a corporate 30-year veteran, C-level exec, U.S., Canada, done a lot of speaking around the world in commodity markets. I did a lot of work in the deregulated sector of electricity. I worked in both California and their mess and Alberta. Did a lot of work in Washington, D.C. Before the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Spent 30 years in that arena, and then in 2007 retired and started a business coaching thing because as a consultant I had done a lot of Donna, you're moving a lot of papers. I need you to mute in between. Thank you. I did a lot of that sort of I started business coaching because my prowess, as it were, in the corporate world had been to put together teams of people that could do essentially the impossible, create impossible results for situations and do that. So business coaching has been kind of a normal outgrowth of that. And then the thing that I actually love to do is very much in line with some of the things you're talking about, which is transformational work. Transformational coaching is the core and heart of both the business coaching and personal coaching that I do. So I work with the transformational notion of people, and in that context and accountability, I use online the title The Execution Mentor because my specialty is helping people get things done, and Glenn's isn't the only client I have that's hired me to help run the execution or implementation arm of their mastermind. So this is kind of another niche that I have to help people who have systems actually help their people get stuff done. So that's a little bit about me. Now you know as much as you
Good.
Probably more than you want to know, but whatever. That's who I am, what I do. I do it really well, and a lot of energy around it, etc. So that's how I ended up here. All right, good. So today, let's talk about the 4-day first. We have that coming up. I talked briefly about it, but I'm going to talk about it again. Glenn is, Bruce and Donna, you guys have been to other events. Whether you come, Donna, or not, there are many things that you can do to prepare as if you were coming that will give you benefits and so forth. Welcome. Joan, let me ask you briefly, are there things that you'd like specifically to cover today? Jean? Jean, you're muted. Is there anything you want to put on the agenda for today?
There we go. Just the presentations that we're preparing everybody for.
Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk through each of your businesses and talk about it in the context of presentations that you should prepare. Every one of you is going to have the opportunity to do presentations. More just coming out of the corporate world and doing the kind of stuff, particularly in Blue Cross, where you would have been working with corporations as the Blue Cross, perhaps, executive that was interfacing with their executives and so forth. And in the thought of what you have right now, corporate health plans, this will be something very familiar to you. There's going to be pieces of what you did before that are going to be very applicable to building an online course. And we're going to talk about yours in two phases. The certification piece is separate. What I'm going to talk about today first is the creation and selling of the course itself, as opposed to the certification. Is that okay, or would you?
Yeah, that's where Glenn and I are focused right now. Is
okay,
on direct-to-consumer
yeah.
or business selling.
Yeah, so the piece that's really important to understand is there are going to be things that are transferable from the corporate approach that you had, and there are going to be things that are not. Getting the differentiation and understanding the direct-to-consumer appeal is going to be really critical to launch it quickly and successfully, and positioning it that way, remembering all the time. One of the things that's hard sometimes as we transition is to remember that we're talking to a different group. Okay, so the first thing I want to say to all four of you as you prepare presentations, and I'm pausing here on purpose because I want you to get in the actual listen mode. When you stand up to give me, and I'm going to be in the room, your presentation, I want you to talk to me. I don't want you to talk at me. The difference there is, hi, I'm Kellen, and we're going to talk about transformational coaching. And as a matter of fact, it is a key to implementation. If you can't manage the attitude and emotion in your mind as you approach any project, you're not likely to succeed. I'm talking at you, and I'm talking about something. Okay? If I'm talking to you, Bruce, I'm going to be you for a minute. You're talking about increasing the valuation of a company so that it can be worth more and you can sell it later. You have particular tools, you know, holistic hiring and other things that some of your partners do that help somebody do that. So the way you talk to someone is to ask them, either make statements or ask them questions that cause them to immediately connect with you. So, for example, do you regularly calculate the valuation of your company? And do you know which are the levers that move it the fastest? Today, I want to talk to you about those levers so that you can grow the worth of your company in the next 90 days. Now, you can look at any particular person in the audience and you can talk to them, and whether you were looking at that person or not, everybody's going to be thinking, holy crap, I wonder if I am going to score well or badly on the levers he's going to talk about today. I wonder if I'm going to do that. Now, Mort, that would apply also directly to you if you change the word valuation to health or stress. Do you find yourself hobbled by stressful situations during the day? Does it get in the way of your productivity? And if it does, do you know right now which things are your big stressors? And the three fastest things you can do to eliminate, as opposed to mitigate, those drains on your productivity, creativity, and energy? And so, again, right away, I'm set up for hearing from you three things that will help me with my creativity, productivity, and energy that maybe I'm doing and maybe I'm not, but viewing you as the front of room expert, I'm expecting that you're going to give me something cool that's going to help me eliminate, because you made that distinction, not manage.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so Gene, your thing right there is the same thing. You talk a lot about employer of choice, and you and I have talked in our private conversations a lot about using corporate speak versus remembering that you're talking to a person. And that person occupies a corporate role, and they make decisions in a corporate role, but you're still talking to a person. One of the most effective things that I did in my hired gunslinger days, when I would go to this state or that state or this country, and I would get plopped in the middle So the last one before I retired from that business was when I went to Alberta in 2003, and I spent 5 years there as a hired gun fixing their whole commodity and electricity regulation and all that sort of thing. So I was put in a position of power, which was unusual. They never did that with contractors. In fact, it was arguably against the law. I didn't actually work for the government. I was a contractor, but I was given decision-making authority. So in that position, I had to connect with these people, or it's going to take a long time to start getting anything done. And so immediately talking to each constituent group, to them, like, I know why you guys are here in Alberta. Here's how you make money in the market. You do this, 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 this. This is how your structures make money. And we as the structure builders are aware of that and want to preserve your opportunities. And I could get their attention really quickly, and then I could go to the consumer side and talk about their need for stable rates and, you know, best prices and so forth in the same kind of language. So Gene, specifically for you, the person that you talk to may or may not have a personal desire for their employer to be the employer of choice. But what they do have a desire to do is get pats on the back for them from their boss. They do have a desire for their company to be recognized. They do have a desire to be important and to feel good. And so if you're talking to a group of people, 3 or 30, who are responsible for hiring, the language for them is, would you like your hiring processes to be smooth, easy, find the right candidates the first time, and on top of that, make your company the manufacturer of choice for top talent, which, by the way, means that you get pats on the back from your boss. So if I'm thinking about a presentation and I'm walking around a room making a presentation, I'm going to look at people and I'm going to talk to them individually. You like it when your boss pats you on the back, don't you? Well, nobody's going to say no. You like getting called on the red carpet instead of the, you know, sisal carpet where they're going to scratch you and then instead they're going to pat you on the head and give you a bonus, right? Duh, I like that. Good. Let's talk about 3 things that maybe you haven't figured out yet that are changed in the last 6 months that might give you a leg up. Would you like those 3 things? You know, stuff like that. So the point is, when you do your presentation, and Donna, when you do it video, or if you're there, when you talk about the free and what were your 3 Fs? Ferocious, fierce, what were they?
I had to unmute, sorry. It's focused, fierce, and free.
Focused, fierce, and free. So then you play on those words. If you're talking to business owners and your job, your desire, what you're selling them is tools and methods so that they feel, as a business owner, that they are focused, that they are fierce competitors, fiercely, public. They are free. They have to use the language. Do you approach every day with good focus so you know exactly what you're doing in your business today? Or do you just get up and do whatever crap's on your desk? That's a great way to start a presentation. I'm Donna. I'm going to talk about never ever, I know you guys all know that, but never ever start a presentation that way. Never get up and tell me your name. Never get up and tell me anything ever. Please never do that, at least at a presentation I attend. Or I will fall asleep before you get to the end of your name. Okay? I need you to start with something that I care about and that's interesting. And yet you have to make some assumptions about what I care about and what's interesting, and you do that based on your knowledge of who's in the room, based on the marketing that was done to get them there, and based on the needs of people that you assume, and you do have to make some assumptions about some people in the room if you haven't been able to find out certain things. If this is an event that you have put together, then you know a lot more about it. If you're doing, for example, a lunch and learn, corporate stress management is a perfect opportunity for both entrepreneurial and corporate clients, where in a large metro area like Phoenix or like Philly, you could do things with business groups if you had an itch to. That may or may not be a marketing tool you decide to use. But to go there and say, you know, I'm going to teach you the 3 latest cutting edge, and I'm an MD, by the way, so there's where you wear the MD big. MD, the 3 latest study cool things that are going to save your life from stress that I guarantee you don't know yet. Holy crap, I better hear. Because everybody intuitively understands we're under stress. Everybody knows blood pressures are going up, stress is going up, obesity going up, health is going down, things suck, economies, blah, 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 blah. Everybody gets that intuitively. You don't got to spend a lot of time talking about that. But if you assume that and say, I'm going to give you the 3 things you don't know about stress that are shortening your life a week, a year. Holy crap. I got to check this dude out. Then you have my attention. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you start your presentation on video or in Sarnia, start with something interesting. Glenn talks about that as a bold claim in his 10-step consultation process. Now, that 10-step consultation process is a tool. It isn't magic. It is a tool like a screwdriver or a hammer or a nail. You have to know when to use it and how to use it, and then you have to already be good at using it, which is why you practice and why you have the, the material and everything else. All right, so we'll talk about a little bit more about that in a minute. So how you start your presentation. Every presentation you do now for the rest of your life is with something interesting that will catch the attention of those people that you believe are in the audience. If you have no idea what's in the audience, then you can start the presentation a different way, and that is with some ice-breaking stuff that gets you some idea about who's in the audience. This, when you do this, I do this in a very animated way, so I walk around. If I'm wearing a lav mic and I walk, I never stand behind a podium unless I have to. So I'm giving a keynote in September in Calgary, and this is, I can't get out of the power business, okay? The Alberta Power Summit's asked me to come back and keynote for them again. So apparently I can't get far enough away. I probably will have to stand behind a podium at that one, unfortunately. But whenever I don't have to, I don't. And I even walk out from behind the podium and yell at people sometimes, even during those. So I'm out from behind the podium anyway. So if you don't know who's in the audience, you can ask some questions. Who's here because they want to be here? Who's excited about being here? If it's after lunch, everybody asleep from lunch. Good. Stand up, stretch, do some stuff. Who would rather be on the beach? Get some people talking, get some stuff going, then you can ask some serious questions. Who here has been affected by stress in their life? Or who here has had to have a really difficult hiring decision to make, if you think that there are any HR people in the room? Or Donna, who here has felt like they were stuck in their business and whatever the heck they dreamed that business was going to be, it isn't? If you think there's a bias toward a number of entrepreneurs in the room, that will get enough people engaged. So if you don't know and you don't feel good about the assumptions that you might make about who's in the room, make up some questions. Some of them can be silly, but get people paying attention. Because the last thing you want, if you look around the room and you see a bunch of heads down and a bunch of people with smartphones in their hand, you lose. Okay, sorry. I had a coaching call right before this one and they didn't show up, and now I just got an explanation. Sorry about that. So I'm trying to figure out what happened. Okay, so are there any questions about how to start a presentation, either in a room full of people you don't know or in a room full of people you do? Okay, good. Start it that way. Now, Glenn starts in his 10-step consultative process with number 1, which is your big, bold claim. Okay? So, for example, I'll give you an example of one. Mort, you could use one like, if you don't manage, no, not manage. What am I saying? Eliminate. and you could actually use the talk like that, the causes of stress in your life, you're going to die a week sooner for every year you have left to live. And I know those numbers aren't right, but you could make up whatever they are and say that. And you could make the distinction yourself, manage and eliminate in a flamboyant way like I just did. And if you use the right numbers and whatever your study and stuff has shown, but the point is, do something like that. So that's a bold claim. One of the bold claims I made, for example, when I was teaching about video marketing, was if you're not using video in your marketing, your business is going to be gone in 3 years. Okay, and I say that to you guys. If you guys are marketing your stuff without using video online, you're not going to grow a business. We are in a phase where the amount of connection and disconnection are at all-time highs. The level of connection we have available to us with all of our smart devices is unprecedented and insane, and it creates an enormous degree of isolation and disconnectedness. Ask any shrink. My wife's brother is a forensic psychologist, and I did, so I can say that too. But I asked some other ones too. Okay, so you can make claims, and here is something that will set you apart. If you are afraid to be bold and make a claim of some kind, you are not selling high-end programs. You are selling cookie-cutter, mid-tier noise. Now that right there could be a bold claim that I could make if I were Glenn talking to people about creating and selling high-end programs. And it might make you mad. You might think, how dare you tell me I'm selling cookie-cutter noise? I don't care. You're engaged. That's all I wanted. Now, you don't want to make an outrageous claim that's stupid, like pigs fly and I saw the moon made out of green cheese and I took a bite last night. You might get a laugh, but you're not going to get attention. So you have to make a bold claim that you believe is true. You believe you have some information or studies or thoughts or surveys or whatever, or observations of your own that back it up, that you know might be controversial, and 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 of the people in the audience might stand up and throw something at you. That's cool. Let them. Okay? All right. That reminds me of the Brad Paisley song, the more they run my name down, the more my price goes up. Okay. Okay, so that's how you start your presentation. Then the next thing you do in your presentation is, after you've got my attention and you've got it in a way that's connected, and in Sarnia you're going to have, you're going to be at both an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage you're going to be at is that you're going to feel like you're not really selling to me or the other me's that are in a room. I'm saying me because you're talking to me. You're selling to me. And you might really feel like, I'm not selling to Kellen. I'm just doing my presentation in front of this group to get a critique. I don't know how to say don't do that any louder than I'm saying it. I want you to pretend like you're selling to me, like I need stress elimination. Never mind the fact that I've written 5 books on meditation and I'm a 40-year practitioner. Never mind the fact that I've got all kinds of music out and guided meditations and all kinds of other tools for stress. Forget that. You're going to sell me your stress elimination methods. Gene, I need you to think that I am an HR manager. Never mind the fact that I don't do that anymore and I'm not hiring 500 people next year like I did another year, but that I need you. And Donna, when you do your presentation, never mind what you know about me. I need your fierce freedom. I need it. And I want you to sell it to me, both emotionally and then financially as an investment. And Bruce, I want you to sell me your services as a consulting firm that's going to increase the valuation of my company so I can sell it for $20 million in 5 years. And I want you to approach the presentation that way, in that emotional state. Whether you do it in Sarnia, whether you do it in a boardroom, wherever, just with that kind of mindset. And here's the reason. I was having a conversation with a client the other day. Okay? Now, this is a person who is very successful, but it's a person who has struggled, like we all do, with some level of doubt and uncertainty about their ability, and I'm not good enough, and all the crap that we all go through, either a lot or a little at different times. And he's just gone through an experience where some realities of the marketplace have been brought home to him in a very visceral and real way. Like just in the last 2 months, real evidence of this thing. It happened to him in the market. Excuse me. He's able to see it and experience it in a way he never had before. And so here was the conversation we had. The conversation we had was this. In watching him talk about those realities, I said to him, look, you're telling me something that you have told me before. 6 months ago, you told me this. Today, your description of this reality in the marketplace is not even in the same ballpark, not even in the same universe, with the description that you gave to me before of this same reality. And so let me describe it to you better so you can understand it. The reality is that if you're marketing to the wrong group of customers, your marketing won't make sense at all. If you're marketing to the right group of customers, it makes complete sense. So that's an obvious reality that you and I can agree with without any issue. And he had taught that to his clients, and he had experienced that himself. Now some things had happened that really nailed it hard for him, because there had been a case where a product that he owned had been sold to the wrong group of clients, and they were unhappy, yet the sales to the different group of clients, same product, same everything, exactly the same, they were thrilled. And so he was getting a lot of noise here and a lot of not noise here. And that taught him that reality in a completely different way. So here's my point in this story. My point is the fact that he was experiencing it in that way, in that reality, this discomfort of complaints, made him able to describe this point in a completely different energetic way that carried the ring and power of truth. And so so my long story comes to this point. If you don't sell me your product with the ring of truth and with the certainty that I need it, you're going to give a boring presentation, and you're going to get some perfunctory, valuable but perfunctory feedback. If, on the other hand, you sell it to me with the conviction that I'm the right client, I need what you have, and that you'd love to help me with it, you're going to get a whole different connection emotionally and a whole different experience in the process. That's a long story to make a short point, but the point is really powerful and it's really important, and it has to do not only with your presentation in Sarnia, but every presentation you ever do for 1 or 1,000. Was the story so long that you didn't make sense anymore, or did you get it?
I got it.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Bruce, nod.
Authentic?
Yeah, the fact that he'd experienced this made it so much more powerful. Literally, the molecules of the words carried energy that they didn't carry before. Something, we call it whatever we want to. It was authenticity, but his ability to describe it, same word, same principle, was just different. It was tinged and infused with an energy, authenticity, with an energy and power that it didn't have before because of the visceral nature of his recent experience. And that only comes when you're connected with what you're talking about. So more in terms of stress, if you're talking about people that have suffered from stress or have died from stress or have had serious health problems from stress, and the mitigation that might have happened, the life extension that might have happened, or quality of life change and improvement that might have happened, given them things that they could have done, didn't do, or did do and received as a result of that, can and should, and you must let it infuse your descriptions and your selling of the value of your services. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So let's go on. So that's the beginning part. That's how you approach the presentation. Now, Glenn has given you a format of a presentation. He last time he talked about using the 10-step process, only lengthening it into a presentation. That is a perfectly legitimate way to do it. I'm looking over here at his thing. So big picture frame, powerful headline, deductive language that anchors the big picture. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go really quickly through his 6 pages and tell you what each of those things means in terms of what you do in your presentation. Would that be helpful, or would that be a waste of time?
Helpful.
Helpful.
Okay, cool. Powerful headline that paints the big picture. That is a knock them out of their seats thing. You're going to die a week earlier for every year you live with the stress you have right now. That's a powerful headline that paints the big picture. The valuation of your company is going to continue to shrink unless you do the things I teach you today. Your hiring is going to get so difficult that people are going to pick it out in front of you just so people won't come to work for you because you suck as a company. Those would be huge, powerful, deductive, scary, emotional statements that you could use that you need to translate. I'm making stuff up and you all know that. But that you need to translate into yours, and you must not be afraid to use them. So that's what he's looking for. Are you going to make a powerful statement that paints the big picture? Deductive language is emotional language. Does it feel like? Imagine that. What if this? Would you picture this? What would it do for you if? It gets someone involved in the emotional language that's internally in them. Okay, what's it going to mean to your family if you're dead 10 years early? Going back to stress. Or what's it going to mean to your retirement if that company you meant to sell is worth nothing on sales day? Or what's it going to mean to your lifestyle and your happiness if the fierce level that you have in your life is that of a dead pussycat? Or whatever. And you could create a fierceness assessment and base it not on, boxing and martial arts like you and I've talked about, Donna, but you could base it on, whether or not people are pursuing their dreams passionately, or whether or not people are pursuing things, or whether or not they're doing that. Oh, one of these days I'll, how often they say that. You could create a little assessment that could let you assess that. Anyway. A deductive language anchors the big picture, anchors the name of the program. So something about your opening couple, 3 sentences has to say something about your program. And quite frankly, the program, Don, I'm thinking about you, fierce and free, fierce, free, and I've just forgotten your third F again, whatever. What is it? Focused. Focused, fierce, and free. All right. You could have that be, you could say, and we can think of a killer headline that says, you can live your life in this is not a headline, but this is an opening statement, so your big picture thing. You can choose to live the rest of your life in a fog, doing what's in front of you and sort of banging into every wall, or you can be like the mountain climber that got to the top, has the beautiful vista, and feels that fierce, I'm using that word on purpose, fierce freedom of accomplishment. That was a battle that I was in for my life. And focused, fierce, and free is the entrepreneur's new guide to wealth, fulfillment, and legacy. You've anchored the name of the program. You've blown them out of their seats, and they've all set up either to throw something at you or to listen. Does that make sense? Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I get 4 points on each of those first 3. The number 4, the slide deck anchors the speaker's personal allure. So what he means by that is Glenn always does the picture of him in the suit. He does it with the mic in his head, and he's talking. He does that for some reasons. He does that because it looks like he's doing something. He's speaking to a group. He looks cool. He's wearing a suit, which looks businessy. You know, all of those things are intentionally calculated. James Malinchak does the same thing. He always has the same suit picture. He's got 2 or 3 of them. He's stepping forward. His hand is out. He teaches people stage platform speaking. So I know James well. I've been involved with him, not anymore, but I had been, so I know him really well. But he does that picture on purpose with the same momentum and the same handout and the same forward step. Glenn does the same thing. So are there things in your slide deck that make you look cool? Okay, now how that makes you look cool depends. It's going to be different for everybody. Okay, the way Glenn's slide deck makes Glenn look cool is going to be way different than the way my slide deck made me look cool, makes me look cool. So one of the things that I talk about, and I may or may not use at the Sarnia thing, but I talk about the fact that when I met the Minister of Energy in Alberta, the first word I said to the Minister of Energy in Alberta was, dude. Dude. So let me tell you how this will work. And this is before he'd hired me. It was a 90-second interview. Okay, I made an assessment, I took a risk, and I said, dude, let me tell you, it's 2 things. I can make you 2 promises. 1, no one will ever BS you about your energy or electricity markets again, because I won't let that happen. Number 2, there will come a day when I am inconvenient. And when that day comes, I will leave. And that was the end of the interview. And he told me he would give me a call in 2 weeks. And 20 minutes later, I got a call that sounded like Will Smith on Independence Day. I got to get me one of these. Click. Okay, so it was an assessment. Your slide deck anchoring your personal allure is a set of slides that is congruent with the coolness you're trying to paint around yourself. So fierce and focused and free is going to have to be something about your freedom, about your adventures, about places you go, about things you do that feel focused, fierce, and free. Valuation for you, Bruce, is going to have to be pictures that are consistent with your corporate wealth building. The corporate selling, it might be, and some IPOs, something that have to do with going public or the sales process or the increasing in valuation process. It might have numbers or a graph, or it might have something on it. Stress reduction might have pictures that are either associated with health and happiness, or it might have pictures and things that are associated with, you know, vacations, or it might have pictures associated with you in a very, you know, stuffy thing, because you're trying to establish the fact that you're Joe Cool or Mort Cool or whatever. Does that make sense? So you just have to think about this. Next, the emotions of desire and pain are anchored throughout. So you have to be speaking, again, this is what we talked about to start with. What do they want? Strategic chunking. So one of the things that he talks about in his 10-step program is about step 7 or 8 or whatever it is, 9, you have an executive summary. The executive summary is the offer sheet. Now, we don't have time to do that today, but if you haven't gone over what an offer looks like, it is the laying out of everything that you get, its value, the value stack, so that you have a presentation of what you're offering in a stack that makes sense. And what he's saying is the content of the presentation all drives toward that offer, so that when the offer shows up in the presentation, it's like, duh, that's what he's been talking about, right? A key test of allure is established at the beginning, and that means right up front, you do something that makes you very, very attractive to the group that you have. ROI case study established at the beginning in the first 5 minutes. What he's saying is your first, I'm not going to say testimonial, but a case study, a client that invested in you that had a powerful return on their investment. Okay? So that's part of the strategic chunking. For each teaching point, there's a 5-step process that he believes maximizes your influence. You say what the rule or the step or the principle is. You talk about how it was applied in some case study. And then a teaching point, Glenn uses a lot of the discussion between inductive and deductive logic and how you lead people to a result. Deductive is where you start with a big blast, knock them over, and then you justify it afterwards. Inductive reasoning is where you start from a premise and you then walk through the logical steps like a mathematical proof to get to an outcome that seems inevitable. And so he makes a big distinction there, and he's got it here. Actionable step is what you're going to do about it. So you need to act. And if that's something they're not doing, that's even more valuable, because then you've said, here's a principle I teach, here's a case study about why it worked, here's some teaching points about how to do it, here's something you could do, and you're doing that, right? And if someone's not, their butt's puckering, and they're like, holy crap, I should be doing that because look at the result that happened from that. And then you anchor the name of your program. In Fierce, Fit, and Freedom, and oh man, Focus, Fierce, and Free, you will have something. And then it's like, here's one of the steps, and you've just been through that, and I'm just like, I'm not doing that. I'm not obviously focused, fierce, and free. I need that. And it starts creating that over and over again. You do that for each actionable step. Okay. So this, I don't know how you rate this last one. He's making the claim that this teaching is done from the context of the big change in your marketplace. So when I make the claim, if you're not using video in your marketing, your business is going to be gone, it's based on the trends that more and more people are going to YouTube. YouTube is the largest search engine. In the 18 to 34 demographic, more people watch YouTube than any television network on the planet. Those kinds of facts say, gee, if you're not using video on YouTube, you're not happening. Okay? All right. So those are the big changes. Mobile is overcome. There's now more mobile devices than there are people. We've eclipsed the 7-8 billion mobile device, which is more than one a person on the planet. Those knowing and using those changes lends credibility and authority to what you're saying. Okay, we're out of time, and I got to page 2. Oh well. Any specific questions? We've talked about that presentation. I've given you a whole bunch of stuff to do. We will talk about that more in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you better be ready, and you better be asking questions about it in between. The other thing you need to be doing is working really hard on what we've talked about here. A lot of these are really clear. Let me go through these. Novelty and engagement. Okay, let's just go through. Big picture, strategic chunking, high contrast. So let me give you a couple of principles that I teach too, but I do it differently than this. The first thing you have to do to get people's attention is to blow up their present reality. You then have made them uncomfortable. You've established your authority as the right to do this. You then blow up their present reality with some large statements that are way different than they think. And then you put reality back together for them in a new way. If you've established your credibility and allure, the blowing up of the reality is accepted as truth because you have some data behind it. And that's not tons, that's just a few points. Then you reassemble reality and present a new possibility for them. That is the whole context of this high contrast differentiation section. The visual spatial representation is the diagram of your competitive advantage. Okay, meaning, and the other thing is please, 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 please do not use any slides at all that are packed with words. If you have more than 10 or 15 words on a slide, I will stand up and block the screen so no one can see you during the presentation. And they need to have pictures, they need to have graphics, and they need to have a bullet point, 2 or 3 bullet points with maybe 3 or 4 words in them. If you've got more than a dozen words, it turns into you're reading the slide, they're reading the slide, you read a bullet, talk about it, you read a bullet, talk about it. Don't do that. Evidence, congruence, we talked about that. Strategic execution, which is obedience. This is where you're further down in the 10-step process, which makes sure people want to work with you. You position yourself as unique, separate, and have a very high demand in the marketplace. And some mechanics, voice, oratory, posture. I do that. One other thing you don't know about me, Mort, is I've owned a recording studio for 35 years. I'm a recording artist. I'm today in a performing group whose last album charted #1 on Billboard. So I am a performing artist. I am a recording artist. I am a performance teacher. I'm an acting coach. I'm a vocal coach. And that is on top of a 30-year career in commodities. I have albums all over Amazon and everything else, which is why I am helping teach the piece about how to talk. It's something that I breathe. I do breathing. Okay, I don't have any more time. I've got to jump on my next call and get ready for my next stuff. I love you guys. I hope that this was very useful. Was this useful for you today?
It was, Kellen. Thank you.
Yes, very good.
Kellen.
Thank you.
Kellen.
Okay, I need you to get your crap ready so that next Monday when we talk, we have something more to talk about than, gee, let's talk about the presentation in Sarnia. I need you to take the first 10 or 15 minutes of our half hour, go through what you're going to do really quickly as if it were, quickly because it is so done. Not quickly because it is barely outlined. There's a difference. Quickly because it is very barely outlined is BS. Quickly because it is so done, and I will be able to tell in the first 3 sentences where you're at, obviously. So give me something Monday that I can work with you that's so done, and then we can do that. Okay?
You may not make Monday, right?
I may not make Monday. I'll reschedule it. I'm not going to cancel you. I'll do something. Okay, I'm on a plane. I don't know what time my plane is. Joy's still doing stuff. As you guys know, I've got an office in Alberta, which was where we winter or summer, and I got one in Phoenix. So I don't know what time the plane is. I'll worry about it. Pay attention to Facebook. Mort, I'll get you a time. Are we in?
Yeah.
Okay. Live long and prosper.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.